Watch this.
What I wish we would have spent more time on is the importance for a society to have an agreed upon moral structure. That if you do not have a religious basis, specifically a Christian one, for your society, something else is going to replace it. And this is where the political meets the spiritual and the political meets the religious. When you become less religious, which this generation is, Gen Z is becoming less and less religious than their parents' generation, then you have a gaping-sized hole in your heart and something must fill it. And out of the lack of Christianity is where we get wokeism. Understand that it's easy to attack wokeism, this idea that men can give birth, and all this nonsense that I'm sure we'll have some wonderful people talk about tonight. Maybe not. It's easy to say, well, Charlie, separation of church and state, we can talk about that tonight. Of course, there should be some separation, some distinction. But do we have separation of morality and state? And when you no longer have a bedrock upon agreed moral structure for your society, then people are going to be in moral confusion. And that is when you start to see widespread transgenderism for our youth, or men and female sports, because if you do not have an agreed upon thing of what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is evil, what is just, what is unjust, what is holy, what is profane. And so when you see something as asinine as this idea that biological men should be able to compete in female sports. 890 medals, by the way, have been stolen from women because biological men decided to play in that sport, and we have to accommodate that. And this is a massive problem that is an outgrowth of the death of Christianity. What happens when a society gets too secular? Now, why does that matter to everyone in this room? It should break you out of your comfort zone to know that it actually does impact you and your children, your grandchildren, if a society becomes less religious. If a society becomes less Christian, if a society becomes less grounded to our foundational roots, be very careful what will actually replace it. And so as we start to see many in the younger generation say, I have no religious affiliation, they're actually lying to you. They're saying that they have no traditional religious affiliation. Something is their God. They are worshiping something. And to worship is what you are aiming at. But if you say, well, I'm not religious, I just want to aim at whatever I want to aim at, we'll be very careful. What does that mean? Does that mean you're going to be the God of the flesh, the God of trying to get as drunk as I possibly can? And just a little bit of a warning, that is a miserable way to live. You know plenty of people probably that are in that cycle, that endless downturn, that down spiral of, I'm just going to do whatever the flesh tells me to do whenever I want to do it. Be very cautious with that. Instead, we believe a better way to live as conservatives and as Christians is one that we want to glorify God in everything that we do, in all that we do. And that includes, by the way, political matters. So you might be saying, Charlie, how does this inform your politics? Well, the Western tradition is what we are trying to fight for. The Western tradition is one that recognizes universal human equality. So think about how fundamental this is. You cannot get to this idea that all humans are created equal without a belief in a divine.
Believe it or not, your moral character is the outcome of the next generation. It determines the future of this nation. Follow for more and watch the video below.